before we get started. This webinar is being recorded. So don't fret if you have to step out for a moment or you get called into a meeting. We'll be sending out the link to the recording tomorrow. And these slides are also available for download if you got a chance to get here early. Or if you want to download them now, check out the chat box and there is a link to download the slides right there. Speaking of the chat box, looks like a few of you are already getting started. Good morning from California. Lovely to see, and New York from all over the states. So awesome. So yes, for the chat box, feel free to throw in any comments or questions you have during the presentation. Oh, we've got Virginia and Boston as well. Awesome, guys. This is cool. Reston. Where's Reston? Which state?
Virginia.
Virginia. Very cool.
I think.
Awesome, guys. This is great. So yes, feel free to put any questions or comments you have into the chat box. We'll be monitoring it as we go. And we'll also save about 10 minutes at the end to answer all of your guys' questions. Oh, this is awesome. We've got Orlando, New York, Colorado. Where are the slides? If you scroll up all the way to the top of the chat box, actually I'll throw in the link again here for everyone. So check out the link to download the slides there. All right, so let's get started. We have an awesome presenter for you all here today. I'm sure you've all heard of her before, making waves in the social media nonprofit world. Social media guru, Julia Campbell, is here to talk with you all about creating a social media strategy for your nonprofit. So without further ado, I'll let her get started.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am thrilled to be here today. I don't know how to close this poll, and that's just my fault.
I got it.
Okay.
There we go.
That's just my own tech failness. But I'm sure you're on this webinar because you could improve, which looks like 71% of you. I like that 2% of you were willing to admit yes, and it's working well. I think that's great. And 27% it looks like no, and we don't know where to start. So you're definitely in the right place. I always think there's room for improvement, even if something is really working well. And I'm glad you're coming here with an open mind, ready to learn. So if you want to tweet along, I just realized at the bottom of my slides, my Twitter handle is spelled wrong, but my Twitter handle is Julia C Social. And you can of course tweet at elevation_web. And I will respond to questions after the webinar. If you see something that you like, feel free to tweet it out. We love having social media interaction on a social media webinar. So a little bit about me, if you're not familiar with me, and I do see some friends. I saw Lacey on here. I saw some people that I recognize. So thank you for coming. I am a former development and marketing director. I've been one of those development / marketing / social media / duties as assigned people at a small shop. I've worked at small community-based organizations and larger organizations as well. So I know what you're going through right now. I understand all of the different demands that are on your plate, and I'm going to give you some tactical information that you can use and take away to your organization. And if you want to learn more about the digital storytelling strategy I'm going to touch on in this webinar, then make sure you grab a copy of my workbook. It's a PDF printable. You can take it, fill it out. It's going to give you some of the best ways that you can really think through collecting, crafting, and sharing your best stories on digital channels. And we'll talk a little bit about storytelling today, but mostly we're going to talk about social media strategy in general and some of the content that you can create that's going to really excite your audience. So we'll talk briefly about the social media landscape entering the new year, how to really use social media to build and deepen relationships with donors, and then really how to manage all of this when you work at a small nonprofit. And at the end, if we do have time, and I want to make sure I allow some time for questions, we will look at some of the battle-tested tools that I use to create visuals and video for social media. So a few statistics before we go into really the meat of the presentation. If you see an infographic like this, I want you to ignore it. I want you to delete it. I want you to click away from the blog post, because what happens is that when we look at infographics like this is what happens in an internet minute. We get very overwhelmed. We think, how can we cut through the clutter? How can we possibly cut through the 3.8 million Google search queries or the 2.1 million snaps created every minute on the internet? So it's true that we live in an information saturated world. It's absolutely true. But what's also true is that we need to focus on our audience. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. I do want to dispel some of the myths that I feel are brought up fairly often so that we're all on the same page. Number one is that people are not leaving Facebook in droves. We all say we're going to leave Facebook and we never do. Facebook and YouTube are used by the majority of Americans. That means more likely than not, some of your donors, some of your supporters are using Facebook and YouTube. Also, baby boomers are the fastest growing demographic in terms of social media adoption, and 90% of millennials, that coveted group, the millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, are using social media. So social media use is not social media as an adoption as people use the platforms and create accounts. That is not down, but it is true that the average time spent is down. And the only platform that seems to be growing in this area is Instagram, and we'll talk about Instagram today. So I wanted to just show you those statistics to kind of put us on the same page, just to say social media is still relevant, it's still here, it's here to stay, it's not a shiny new tool, it's actually a revolution in human communication on par with the printing press. So we can't just ignore it and we can't hope that it goes away. Also, the 2019 Global NGO Technology Report was just released. It has some really juicy statistics in it. It looks like the majority of us are using social media, and the majority of us agree that it is effective for not only creating social change, but also for fundraising. So take a look at this report if you're looking to benchmark yourself and create a baseline for your own organization. The Global Trends in Giving Survey is from 2018 rather. They have not come out with the new one yet, but this one talks about the influence of social media on donors. So this survey surveyed donors rather than nonprofits and found that 29% of donors worldwide said that social media inspired them to give. So all of these, show them to your board if you have skeptics on your board or in your staff. And of course, we can't ignore the fact that Facebook just announced they reached the $2 billion mark, $2 billion raised on social media, on Facebook, sorry, with the donate button and fundraisers for causes. $1 million of that having been raised in the last year alone. For 125 million raised on Giving Tuesday 2018. I can't wait to see what they do in 2019. And 18% of donors have given through Facebook's charitable giving tools. So we can't ignore it. What we need to understand is how to use it for our organization. What we also need to understand when we are creating our social media strategy is that donors are disappearing. And I feel like it is our moral obligation and duty to be retaining these new donors. So while charitable giving may have increased in 2018, the total number of donors dropped and new donors dropped, newly retained donors dropped, and gifts of less than $250 declined. So small donors are leaving. People are thinking that philanthropy is only for the wealthy, for the Bill Gateses, for the Warren Buffetts, and that is a problem for a lot of us running small organizations. So why did donors stop giving? I mean, all of this, any statistics I share, it's all based in data. So if you take a look at this list, we can combat everything on this list with social media, except for maybe two things, except for death and could no longer afford. Those we don't have any control over. Everything else on this list, we do have some agency over. We have some control over a lot of the things on this list. And we need to design our strategy around the reason why donors stop giving. Even better, we should design our strategy around why donors keep giving, the 7 key donor drivers. So the 7 key drivers, this is your content strategy right here. We're going to walk through it. Donor perceives organization to be effective. Donors know what to expect with each interaction. Donor receives a timely thank you. Donor receives opportunities to make views known. That means you're accessible, you're answering questions, you're showing up, you are addressing comments, you're answering your phone, you're answering emails. Donor feels like they're part of an important cause because, as we know, donors give because they want to solve a problem. They don't give because they like your organization and you've won 10,000 awards and your board members have 45,000 degrees, right? They want to be part of an important cause, solving a problem that is important to them. They feel their involvement is appreciated. They receive information showing who is being helped. Now, do you do any of these things with your social media? This is the National Donor Commitment Study. It's very interesting to read, but I pulled out the 7 key drivers for us because what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about how to address these 7 key drivers in our social media strategy. We're going to give donors what they want. We're going to give supporters what they want. We're going to give the people that know us and love us, or that want to know us and love us, exactly what they want. So how do we do this? The other most important thing to remember, especially about any kind of communications, is that people are going to forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Did you make them feel appreciated? Did you make them feel like they're part of an important cause? Did you make them feel like they're helping? Did you showcase impact? Okay, so we're going to tie all this together in your social media strategy. Unfortunately, many of the meetings that I sit in on look like this. It's always tools first. We have to get away from the tools first strategy. You know, what's the big campaign idea? We're going digital. We're going to be on TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram Live. What are we going to do? I don't know. We'll figure it out later. The more important question is, why are we doing this? But also, what are we going to do is important. So the number one thing you need to do, the very first step, is figure out the why. What would you do if you couldn't fail? If you could wave a magic wand and accomplish all of your social media dreams, what would that look like? What do you hope to achieve by using social media in particular, as opposed to calling donors, as opposed to events, as opposed to email, as opposed to any other methods of communication? What can social media help you achieve specifically? And what does success look like? And then what do you want people to do? What do you actually want people to do at the end of the day? What are you calling them to action? Now, I know all of you are saying, if I waved a magic wand, I would have 10,000 Twitter followers. I would have 5,000 Facebook fans. You have to think deeper than number of fans. You also have to think deeper than simply raised awareness. I just want to get on Twitter. I want to get 5,000 fans. Look at this cartoon. This was on Beth Cantor's blog, and I really love it. Our cat adoption numbers tanked this quarter, but the important thing is our YouTube views are way up. Okay, so don't tell me that your most important goal is YouTube views, because I'm going to push back and say, what would YouTube views get you? If your video went viral, what would that get you? Why? You know, you've got to dig deeper. Why do you want to raise awareness? If you were not the best kept secret anymore, what would that get you? What would increased visibility get you? You have to always come back to the why, and it's going to help you when you're creating your content strategy if you know why. You also need to know who. Who are you talking to on social media? You need to understand your donors and what they value. What do they want to know more about as related to you? You are the go-to resource in your industry and your cause. I go to you. I don't have time to read every article, to look up every statistic, to read every story around the cause, around the problem that I care about. So I look to you. Tell me what I need to know and tell me what I need to do. Explain the problem, explain the solution, and explain the impact. You need to understand what motivates your donors and what drives them to participate. And if you don't know, it's a great excuse to call them, to send out a donor survey, to talk to them at events, to send out a letter, to hold a luncheon. Talk to your donors. You need to understand their drivers, their particular drivers, and their motivations. What do they know about you? And what do they want to know about you? And what misconceptions do they have about you or the population that you serve? This is an example of an organization in Italy, and they did a search. So they looked at Google search and they looked at YouTube, because YouTube is the #2 search engine in the world, owned by the #1 search engine, Google. And they looked at what are people searching on around the words Down syndrome. Now, not for the faint of heart, obviously. You got to have a pretty thick skin and a hardened stomach if you're going to start doing Google searches around the cause that you care about. But it's going to give you some fantastic market research that you can then leverage to create this content that people are searching for. So they created a series of videos based on searches that they found. It was a lot of moms saying, I've been diagnosed, or I've just found out that I am going to have a child with Down syndrome. What do I do? What's the first step? What can I expect? And so they created a series of videos called Dear Future Mom, answering this question. Showing people the human side of your organization. If you can't share faces and names in your storytelling, that's fine. A lot of organizations that I work with have confidentiality restrictions. This is Amira, New England. They work with victims of sex trafficking. They never share identifying details or names, but they still manage to share these really compelling mission moments, these little tiny stories. And they actually do a really great job fundraising using Instagram, doing it this way. So don't think you have to always have that forward-facing person. The key is just to know what your audience cares about. So Road Scholar was one of my clients, and they are formerly Elder Hostel, and they provide educational trips and resources to older adults. The majority of the adults they serve are women who are even like 70 plus. They're very independent. They're fierce. They're educated. They are probably a little bit more affluent, and you can't tell them that they can't do anything that they want to do. So we created this avatar for them on social media, and we call her the funky grandma. And if we don't think that the funky grandma would like a post, we don't post it. And if we think she would, we do post it. The thing is, we're not excluding people, because a lot of other people are going to overlap with the funky grandma. But if you get laser focused on social media with who you're talking to, people will start to see you as part of their identity. They'll start to self-identify with your content and with your page and with your mission. And that's how you're going to get engagement. You want people to feel something. You want them to see themselves in the content that you post. If they don't, they're not going to like and comment and share. The third step is choosing the right platforms. This cannot be the first step. We can't start platforms first until I know, what are you trying to accomplish? Where are you trying to go? And who are you trying to reach? Because I'm going to ask you, which platforms are going to help you reach the people you want to reach and get them to take the action that you want to take. And also, you do not need to be everywhere. Pick one channel to do well. Pick 2 channels to do well, and then add on and add on and add on. Don't spread yourself too thin and water down your content across all of these different channels. The most important thing to know about social media is that you can't simply automate what you're doing. You can repurpose and recycle content, and I will show you a little bit how to do that when I show you a sample calendar. But each channel is its own country with its own language, its own etiquette, its own set of best practices, its own audience. You know, everything that works on Pinterest might not work on LinkedIn or Facebook. Some things that work on LinkedIn might not work on Twitter. So you have to create an individual strategy for each channel. And that's why I encourage you to just pick 1 or 2 based on your capacity, what you can possibly handle. So your mini strategy, you're going to ask these questions. Why are we using, let's just pick Instagram. Why are we using Instagram specifically? What do we hope to gain from Instagram? What types of content are we going to share on Instagram? What voice are we going to have on Instagram? What are we going to measure so we know progress on Instagram? So we're talking about a mini strategy for each platform. It's not enough to just have an overarching digital strategy. It's not enough to have an overarching social media strategy. each platform, in order to maximize what you're doing and not spin your wheels and not waste time, each platform needs to be treated like its own country. Now, you didn't think you were going to get on a social media webinar and I was going to reference the IRS, unless you've been on one with me, because you know I love the IRS social media strategy. They use each channel to reach a different specific audience. So they use Facebook to reach tax preparers. They use Instagram to reach younger people and share information on preparing tax, tax returns and all of that kind of stuff. They share really fun videos that are created for Instagram. They share news and announcements on Twitter. So think about the IRS social media strategy. If you go to the IRS website, you can find their social media strategy on the website. And it's pretty interesting how they actually parse it out like that to different audiences, because then it can be laser focused. This is the problem with a lot of our social media strategies. You know, like us so we can tell you how awesome we are. We've got an awesome promotion. Maybe it's a sale or maybe it's an event. Help our awesome video go viral. I've actually received emails that said, help our video go viral. And I thought, what? I don't want to do that. I want to like save the rainforests. I don't care about your video, because people don't make the link. They don't really understand. Help us raise money for our campaign. I don't really care about your campaign. I care about helping more children get after school care. So frame things in helping me be more awesome. How can we help you be more awesome? How can we help you achieve what you want to achieve, which is solving the problem that they care about? So we need to stop making it about us. And we need to understand why people are on social media in the first place. This is why they're on these different channels. You know, some people want to learn about news and current events. Some people want to learn about topics of interest. That's YouTube and Twitter, our discovery platforms. But mostly it's me. I want to talk to my friends. I want to share my photos. I want to share about my day. I want to use social media to help establish my identity, my worldview, the things that I care about. So how can we help people do that and look good to their friends and family? And that's the kind of content that we need to create. So let's just review the 7 key drivers, because this is going to influence all of the social media content that you post. We need to perceive you to be effective. We need to be thanked. We need to be part of an important cause. We need to receive information showing who is being helped. These are all kind of non-negotiables. So now we're going to go specifically through a few of the channels, and I'll show you some examples of how you can leverage each channel within your overarching digital strategy. So for your Facebook strategy, you want to make sure it's centered on great visuals and great stories. Think about why people are on Facebook. You want your content to seamlessly fit into the news feed. So people like faces, it's called Facebook. People like stories, and you can always either not add a link to an outside website. You don't have to always add a link. You just tell a great story and have a great photo, and people will like it and comment on it, or you can add a link to an outside website. When you're talking about a story on Facebook, you want to make sure it has stakes. It's not just saying, this happened, and the end. You know, what are the stakes? What is on the line? Joe found himself unexpectedly unemployed. There you go. There are the stakes. There's the conflict. Grab my attention in the first line. Great visual, grabbing attention. And then if you can link it to something that's trending like Hunger Action Month or any kind of cause and awareness day, all the better. This is pretty much a perfect social media ask, because it has everything that's required of fundraising on Facebook. One, it is a great visual. It doesn't have to be a dog. I love animals. Dogs are not necessarily my thing. I'm much more interested in like children and emergency relief, but I paid attention to this. It's a great photo. It has a compelling story that grabs me and hooks me, and a specific ask. Can you give just $5 to help Fiesta and other animals like her? Hit the donate button below. It's pretty much a perfect fundraising post. Not every post has to obviously ask for money. If you want to use the donate button, I say, just to go back to this, if you do use the donate button, telling people that they should press it and also giving them a specific amount that they should donate will eliminate analysis paralysis, because people are on the go when they're on social media. They're on their phones, they're doing 50 things, they might be watching TV. So eliminate any kind of confusion. They might not see the donate button because it might be down in their scroll. Just tell people exactly what you want them to do. Eliminate any kind of decision making, and you'll see your conversions go up. Using Facebook Live should be part of your Facebook strategy 100%. Even if you don't get a lot of viewers while you are live, you're going to get a ton of reach and engagement after the live video ends. And then you have this great video that you can download and put on YouTube, embed in your blog, repurpose in 10,000 different ways. You can retarget people that watch the video with ads. You can add a caption like the New York Public Library and use Facebook Live to grow your email list. But Facebook Live needs to be a key element of any Facebook strategy. It's the most engaging type of content on Facebook. Also, budgeting a tiny little bit for Facebook ads, and especially if you're trying to fundraise on Facebook, because you can track the ROI, the return on investment. If you spend $50 to create this Facebook ad and you get $100 in donations, then that's an immediate benefit that you can track. So think about what's timely, think about what's urgent, think about what's relevant. Feed a family for the holidays. Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh need our help. Can you donate today? If it's something in the news, or if it's something that's timely like the holidays, or it's a cause awareness day, or it's after school, think about creating a Facebook ad around that. And you can target Facebook ads to your current donors, upload your email list into Facebook, target an ad to your current donors, target an ad to your email list, target an ad to your lapsed donors. You can put the Facebook pixel on your website and you can target people that visited your website. There's a million ways that you can do it, but ad targeting is so powerful and so effective that I always recommend it to be a tiny part of any Facebook strategy. And then of course, if you're raising money on Facebook, you want to make sure that you have, you're signed up for Facebook charitable giving tools, and that you are encouraging people to donate their birthdays, and then showing them really how to best leverage Facebook, having a great photo, having a great title for your fundraiser, sharing it far and wide. If you do any kind of peer-to-peer fundraising, the same principles apply on Facebook. You have to tell people exactly what you want them to do. You have to give them a reason to donate. You have to have a compelling story. So the peer-to-peer fundraising practices still apply if you do a race or a walk or any of that. All right, so now we're going to talk about Twitter, some quick tips and best practices for your Twitter strategy. Make sure you're jumping on popular topics and hashtags. So things like Carers Week, okay? Things like Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There is a week or a day or a month for absolutely every single cause out there. Find out what yours are, and then find some fun ones like Emoji Day or Pizza Day and jump on those. Sharing video on Twitter works really well because it jumps out of the news feed. Sharing fantastic photography and a little bit of a story jumps out of the feed on Twitter because so many people are sharing links and spam and a lot of fluff. So if you have a really curated Twitter strategy, it can actually stand out if you do a lot of storytelling on Twitter. And then jumping on things like Emoji Day, having fun with it, looking at the ways that people are using it and trying to adapt and emulate some of those fun things. It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom and serious all the time. I like how Lambda uses Twitter, or this is Instagram, but it's a picture of a tweet that they posted on Instagram, which apparently people do. I don't usually recommend doing that. I get questions about that all the time. People do it all the time. I don't know. But this is originally a tweet and I really liked it because it's helpful. It's useful information. It's giving people something that they want. And it's also very shareable. It's very retweetable. People want to share this information with their friends because they want to say this stuff to their friends. And then adding your own spin to trending topics works well also. So, 3 words I cannot stand. Most people had crazy things on Twitter, and then stop being crazy. The weather's bipolar, get over it. I think that adopting your own spin on popular topics works really, really well on Twitter. And it shows your personality, and it also shows that you're a human at the end of the day, and people want to connect with humans on social media. We do not want to connect with logos. We do not want to connect with brands. We want to connect with people. All right, another fantastic account. So I've already told you, you have to follow the IRS. Now I'm telling you, you have to follow the TSA. The TSA is my favorite Instagram account because they constantly are taking this very serious, dry, boring subject matter and spinning it and making it funny and entertaining and perfect for Instagram. So if you just look at this caption, are we cool? We like to think we're cool. We want you to have a pleasant experience at the airport and arrive safely at your destination. But getting caught while trying to fly with marijuana or cannabis-infused products can really harsh your mellow. And then they say, let us be blunt. I mean, it's just so funny. So think about ways that you see accounts that you might like to adopt. And that might not be your voice on Instagram, but that's what works on Instagram. So take some notes, think about some ways that you could be a little more maybe casual or friendly or accessible. I also love when I see legislative advocacy on Instagram. That does work really, really well. So calling, texting, also text overlay on photos on Instagram works well. So people don't necessarily have to read the caption in order to like the photo. That works well. And there's tons of low cost and free mobile apps where you can add text overlay to photos. A question that I get all the time about Instagram strategy is, should we use longer captions or shorter captions? So this is my friend Brandon Harvey, and he's a photographer. He writes very long captions. 2,200 characters is the limit. He usually uses that limit. And he uses Instagram a very specific way. He tells the exact story of his photo. You may or may not need to do that. So you need to play around with Instagram in order to determine, does your audience prefer shorter captions or longer captions? Does the story need a lot of additional detail? Does the photo really say 1,000 words, or do you need additional wording? And you should know that in the mobile newsfeed, your caption is going to get cut off after maybe 10 words, and then someone will have to click more. So you want to put your most important stuff that's going to grab people, your most important wording, in the top part of the caption. Once again, if you don't have the ability to share faces and identifying details, think about ways you could share inspirational quotes. Think about ways you could share fun graphics. Maybe you could use animation, you could use artwork. So just kind of get creative. Instagram, at the end of the day, is a very visual platform. It's a visual storytelling platform. So you do have to have great visuals, but you don't necessarily have to have client stories for every post. Any Instagram strategy in 2019 going into 2020 needs to incorporate Instagram stories. They're poised to take over the popularity. They're poised to take over the newsfeed by 2020. So sharing in the moment, behind the scenes, off the cuff, authentic, raw moments. This is Susan G. Komen, Florida, and they always are sharing behind the scenes moments at events, at various functions. There are many creative ways to use Instagram stories. I've seen tips like this where each photo shared is a different tip, and there's fantastic graphic design tools that you can use to create that. Talking about events that you're holding or participating in. You're going to a conference, you're going to a major action like the climate strike, and then just shedding light on the work, that you do. This tells a story. And maybe these photos aren't perfect for your news feed. They're not perfect for, you don't want to put them in your newsletter, but they might be good for an Instagram story, just giving people some context and some background into what you're doing. And of course, if you're signed up with Facebook charitable giving tools, you can incorporate the Instagram donation sticker and put it on your Instagram story. So you can do this with your own nonprofit account, like you can see Best Buddies does and the Malala Fund both do it, or anyone on Instagram, a personal account or a business account, can add the donation sticker and start raising money for you right away. So something to look at, something to incorporate, just a tool in your tool belt that you want to make sure you're exploring, especially if you're trying to use Instagram or any kind of social media to fundraise. Now, the big question: how often should I post? I'm willing to bet that you need to post more frequently than you think, because organic reach, which means unpaid reach, is something like 2 to 3% on Facebook. That means only 2 to 3% of your fans are going to see anything that you post. It's incredibly low across all of the sites. And the reality of social media is that it's like exercise. This is the best analogy that I can provide for you. If you simply go to the gym an hour a week and you just kind of throw around some weights and you kind of walk on the treadmill half-heartedly, you don't really have a plan, you don't really know what you're doing, and you don't record anything, you don't try to improve, you're not going to get the results that you would if you worked out strategically 3 times a week and you had a plan and you knew the weights that you were going to do and you switched up the machines. And you get the analogy. I mean, you get it. So the more time you put in, but the more thoughtful and intentional time that you put in to social media, the better. So it's not even just about time. We all know this. You could spend 40 hours a week on social media and accomplish literally nothing. We've all gone down that rabbit hole, right? So it's about strategy, it's about thought, and it's about intention. And that's what we need to focus on when we're using social media. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. Now, repurposing and recycling. This is huge. So you have one great story or one great photo with a little caption. That can be a blog post. That can become an email blast. That can be a Facebook post, a tweet, an Instagram post, as long as there's a visual. LinkedIn. Now, I didn't cover LinkedIn today because just for nature of time, but LinkedIn is becoming a huge powerhouse of engagement if you're sharing photos and videos, because not many people leverage the site for that. You can have a LinkedIn company page. You can have a LinkedIn personal page for yourself, for your executive director, and post from there. There's LinkedIn publishing. LinkedIn is something that I think it's kind of like the dark horse of social media. And I think it's vastly underappreciated because maybe it's not as sexy or as, shiny as a lot of the other channels. But LinkedIn is not something to ignore if it's a place where you feel like your donors are. That's the most important thing, is your audience there. And then of course, if you have any video at all should go on YouTube. We didn't get to talk about YouTube today as well, but YouTube, like I said before, is a place where people search for things. They're searching for information on YouTube. So an analogy that I heard, I just listened to a podcast about how to maximize your YouTube views. YouTube is like free advertising because people are searching for you. You're not having to force your content down people's throats. They are actively looking for it. So if you have any kind of video content at all, make sure you have a YouTube channel. Make sure you sign up for YouTube for nonprofits, and make sure that you're sending people to your YouTube channel. And people are going to find you based on the terms they're searching for. So all of these things, think about all of these things. We don't have to do all the things. This is a sample calendar that I have used with some of my clients just to kind of show you how content can be repurposed across different channels. So if you write a blog post every week, there you go. your member spotlight goes up on the website. Then maybe you have a print publication, which you took the member spotlight from. Then maybe you're sending out an email once a week, and that can be your Facebook post or Instagram post. If you have a video, put it on YouTube, and then your LinkedIn post. So you're not going to update your website every day. You're not going to send an email every day, but you can start to see themes. And if you are like a one-person shop and you're feeling very overwhelmed, the best way to think about it is have a theme. So Tuesday could be in the field. Wednesday could be a fun quote. Thursday could be in the office. And then you just do 3 days a week. And then when you start to craft your social media calendar around themes and you get more comfortable and you start seeing more traction and you start seeing more engagement, you'll feel comfortable branching out. What I don't want you to do is rely too heavily on content that you don't create. So sending people to other people's websites, sending people to the New York Times, sending people to outside sources, use sparingly, because Facebook, for one, does not reward content that sends people off of Facebook. But also, you want to build yourself up as a thought leader. You want to share helpful information, but you want to share original content as well. That's why I'm following you. That's why I'm interacting with you. And that's why I'm supporting you. So think about how you can use articles and outside resources sparingly. And I know a lot of us rely on that for our social media content, but we have to get away from that a little bit. So your new mantra, less is more, quality over quantity, right? Focus over frantic. Do not wake up every Monday morning and think, what am I going to throw up on Instagram? What am I going to put up on Facebook? Oh my gosh, I've got to send out some tweets. You want to be focused. You want to look at the calendar. You want to know what piece of content is the most important piece of content for the day, and share it out and repurpose it. So the way I like to think about it is it's the gold. So it's kind of like whatever your story is the gold, your content, and then you mold it based on if you want to make a necklace or a bracelet or a watch. Your little studio that you're going to use, it's your phone. Your digital media studio, it's your phone. You're going to take video with your phone, and we're going to get over being scared of this. So tips for video: shorter is better. You have to grab attention with the very first frame. Captions. So download an app, use an app that will include captions on your video, not only because 85% of videos are watched on social on silent, but also because it's inclusive and makes it more accessible for people. You can also download your video, repurpose it across all channels, and authenticity is so much better than polish. So if it's your 50th gala, your 50th anniversary gala, yes, you're not going to shoot a little story on your phone and put it up at the gala. You're going to spend some money on that video. But if it's for social media and you just need an Instagram story, you can use your phone. You can also use your smartphone for live streaming. Maybe you want to get some lighting. You might want to get a mic. I have a USB mic that I use for my webinars. I use the Blue Yeti mic. You might want to get a lavalier mic. I mean, it's really not a huge investment to just up your game a little bit, but you can do this all with your phone. People love live stream videos. People love Instagram stories, all taken with the phone. I think the real key is that we need to think about social media not as like perfect content creation in like an art museum. We need to think about it as documenting what we do, documenting your day, showing me the behind the scenes of everything that you do, and you can also use it to thank supporters. If you're running a fundraising campaign, you're running an event, thank people in real time. Use your phone to thank people. Make some thank you videos, post them up on social media. Think about those 7 key drivers. People want to see evidence. They want to see impact. They want to see stories of the people and places that have been helped because of their donation. They want to feel that human connection. They want to be thanked. think of ways that you could use video to do all of those things. And then some tools that you can use to spice up your social media. Canva, that is a free graphic design platform. You can also purchase stock photography. You can use their themes or your own themes. Canva is such a lifesaver. I use it for literally everything in my life. Animoto is one of my favorite video editing tools. This is where you can upload photos that you already have and create a little photo montage, add some music that they already have, put some text overlay on it, and boom, you've got a little social media video. And then WordSwag is my favorite mobile app. This is where you can upload your own photos, put text overlay, edit them, create great graphics, great quotes, great visuals for social media. So those are really my three favorite go-to tools. I have a million that I use, but I like to whittle it down to the essentials. These are created with WordSwag, which is that mobile app that I love. In terms of planning and scheduling, I like Hootsuite and Buffer. I do not recommend scheduling out all of your social media. I don't recommend automating all of your social media, because if you post from Instagram to Twitter, it looks weird. If you post from Twitter to LinkedIn, it looks weird. So as much as you can, try to go in and natively post or natively schedule within each app. But for Hootsuite and Buffer, I find that scheduling tweets works, scheduling on LinkedIn works. Those are really the only two I schedule to. If you want to schedule to Instagram, Later is great. You can schedule up to 30 posts for Instagram to go out, and it looks good, and you can kind of see what it'll look like in the news feed. And then BuzzSumo is a tool that I recommend if you're looking for content ideas. You can search on keywords and industry topics and different things like that. So remember that social media is a way for you to help your supporters connect the dots around your organization. They're never going to have that full picture from just one social media post, but the more they see of you, the more dots will get connected and the more they'll understand the bigger picture. And when you're trying to get buy-in and you're trying to advocate for your work and help people understand what you do, I would suggest printing out this slide. This is the real work. This is what we're doing. We need to be able to understand each platform, the best practices, the strengths and the weaknesses. We need to be able to consistently create content that works for each platform we are on. We need to be able to actively participate, answer questions, answer direct messages, show up. Like, how are you showing up for your audience? We also need to understand what our audience wants, do some research there. We need to do measurement, analysis, and improvement. So simply just posting on social media year after year without really understanding what's getting engagement, what's getting clicks, what's getting traction, which sites are sending the most traffic to the website, which sites are sending the most traffic to the donation page. We need to do a little bit of measurement and analysis so that we can improve. All right, well, that's all I have for the formal part of the presentation. I've been looking in the chat, and Sarah, I know you were going to read some of the questions to me. I haven't really been following because I've been doing the presentation. But if you want a copy of the digital storytelling workbook, I encourage you to text the word workbook to 345-345. If you would like to get in touch with me, my website is up there. And Sarah, I know you're going to send all the slides out. Oh, you just posted the link to download them as well.
Yes. I've reposted the link so everyone can download them there. Let me send it out to everyone just once more. If you guys have any questions, throw them in now, and we'll hang on for a few more minutes to see if anything comes in. Other than that, this was an awesome presentation. And thank you guys so much for being here. And thank you, Julia, for all of this amazing work.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes if you text it's got to be in the United States. I meant to tell you that. Here, I'll get the link for the workbook if you're not in the United States. I should have said that. That's the problem
Also, yes,
sometimes with that. So if you do get it, if you get an error message and you want the workbook, I just put the link in. But yeah, make sure you type your questions in. All right, I see one from Rachel. Okay, I can read it if you want.
Go for it, yeah.
What's your strategy for donors, followers, other nonprofits to become influencers for your organization and help spread your content? That's a great question. So I call them social media ambassadors, and you can call them brand ambassadors, whatever you call them. The key is to have a real strategy around identifying them, recruiting them, and then giving them something to do. So make a list of anyone in your organization that's very active on social media. They don't have to be tech savvy. Staff members, volunteers, board members, community members, low-hanging fruit. And then you want to go to your database. You want to go through your social media channels, look at who's very active, who always comments, who always retweets, who always shares, and recruit them by telling them, hi, everyone. We're looking to really spread the word about a specific campaign, or we're looking to spread the word about some of the great work that we're doing. We'd like to invite you to become part of this group. We're going to set up either an email list. We're going to set up a private Facebook group. We'd love for you to go in there. And then once a week, we're going to post something that we would love all of you to share out. So that's kind of the easiest way. And that's really where I would start with that. So it's, you certainly have to give them a reason to participate, but just start with trying to coordinate a group of maybe 10, 15 people inside either a Facebook group or an email list, giving them something specific to do every week, and then getting their feedback and talking to them and asking them how it's working, how you could improve. I think using them as a focus group could work well either. Okay. Awesome. All right, Sarah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe you should read them to me because I wasn't looking at them. That's okay.
So we got another question. Just a reminder to everyone, the recording will be sent out tomorrow, so check your email for that. We have another question. It's not really about social media, but it's part of their communications plan. What is an ideal schedule for sending out an e-newsletter? Right now, they're doing it monthly.
Oh, okay. If you send an email out monthly and I delete one, I haven't heard from you in 2 months. So try sending emails at least 2 times a month. Now, usually I recommend weekly, and everyone's going to say, oh my gosh, we can't do weekly. But if it's short and sweet and to the point, and if it's something I actually want to read, then I'm not going to delete it. So for instance, I get emails from a local hospital and they send a patient story every week. A patient story, it's just, this is a patient story. This is the photo. Here's a link to our blog if you want to read more. And here's a way that you can get involved. I don't read it every week, but I know it's there and I see it come into my inbox, and sometimes I read it and sometimes I don't. But what it does is it gets me used to getting communication that I like from the organization. So it's not always asking me to do something. It's not spam. It's interesting. I like it. It's very short. I can read it on my phone. So the real key with email is that we have to stop thinking about it as a way to like push our agenda out. And we really have to think about it as a way to build a relationship with our donors. What do they want to see? What do they want to hear from us? And how can we give that to them every single week? Give them information that they actually want every single week. So personally, I think weekly. I definitely think monthly is not enough because like I said, if I delete one by accident, then I haven't heard from you for several months, and I'm less likely to open your email the next time that I get it.
Awesome, yeah. All right, we have another question from Sandy. It says, how often should we have a donate button up?
Oh, on a donate button ask? I'm kind of a fan of the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the content you share should be hitting on one of those donor drivers, and 20% can be a direct ask. So that's just kind of a loose rule. I know some people add the donate button to everything they do and it works well for them, like the ASPCA. I know the Humane Society does, but to me, I think for a small local organization, people are going to get overwhelmed. So I think sharing impact stories, printing out that donor driver slide, hitting on everything that your donor wants to hear and see from you, and then priming the pump, getting them to trust you, getting them to love you, getting them really excited, inspired, and then, you know, asking them to give maybe 20% of the time works well.
Yeah, I really like that 80-20 rule. That puts it in good perspective. All right, and next question says, we have an issue with identifying and thanking donors that give through Facebook Network for Good, and Facebook has privacy restrictions, so gifts that come in are anonymous. Do you happen to have a workaround for this?
No, but I do have very strong opinions about this. This is my favorite question to answer. First of all, we need to realize that in the digital age, we are no longer in control of anything. So donors can give to us whenever they want, however they want, and they will. And if we don't give them a way to do it, then they're going to seek either another organization to support, or they might just not make the donation. So if it's 4 a.m. and I want to give to you via Facebook and I don't find the donate button on your Facebook page, then I might not make the donation. The problem for fundraisers is that we're so used to controlling everything and getting the contact information through our website, through our payment processor, through our database. With social media fundraising, it's flipped because Facebook doesn't care what we want. Facebook doesn't really care what the user wants either, but Facebook, they want to protect the user because they want the user to trust them and they want the user to stay on the website. So unless someone on Facebook clicks a button that says, please share my information with the charity, then you're not going to get that information. So focus on thanking the people that are doing the fundraising. And if you see a fundraiser for you on Facebook, like a birthday fundraiser, you can post in that fundraiser and you can say, hi everyone, thank you so much for your donations. Here, you know, I would love to show you the impact of the money. I would love to show you the impact of your investment, of your partnership with us. If you would like to hear more about the impact that your donations made, come on over, sign up for our email list, and we'll make sure to stay in touch with you. So you have to be a little bit more proactive. But also, we should know that with the General Data Protection Law that went into play in the EU and the UK, just because someone makes a donation to you in the EU now at this point, you can't add them to your email list. They have to explicitly opt in to your email list. So I'm not sure if that rule is coming to the United States, but I firmly believe like we should only be contacting people that are interested in hearing from us. And if they haven't clicked that little button that says, I want to hear from you, then we shouldn't worry about them. But we can be proactive by encouraging people, posting in the fundraiser, asking them to join us on their terms, you know, on our email list.
Awesome. Yeah, we have a related question. It says, we have a challenge with Facebook not allowing us to share our email address or website link, even in Messenger. Have you faced this challenge before? And how do you overcome it?
No, that sounds like a technical problem with Facebook. I'm not sure why you wouldn't be allowed to share your email address, but I do know that a lot of people don't really like direct messages. I mean, they don't like getting direct messages that are uninvited. So I never recommend trying to contact people via direct messenger unless they've invited it, unless they've contacted you first. The best practice is just to post inside the fundraiser or post on your Facebook page, you know, try to create ads that will encourage people to sign up for your email list, that kind of thing. So I don't know, that sounds like a technical issue.
Okay, cool. So we have another question. Is social media a better way to launch your nonprofit, like a soft launch, or is it better to start with a big launch event?
I think you should do both. I think you should do a big launch event and stream it live on social media. So I think there's elements of both. I think it depends what you're trying to accomplish. Are you more of a virtual organization, or is it something where you want to invite the community to come and celebrate with you, and you want to cut a ribbon and invite people to meet your board members and staff members? All of that though, any live event that you do in person, that is social media gold. You can take photos, you can do live video, you can stream it. I mean, you can do a lot with the live event. So I think a combination of both.
All right, that sounds great. I think that's it for questions for today. A huge thank you to you, Julia, for putting on this amazing presentation. And thank you to everyone who stuck around and watched the webinar. It was awesome to
Thanks, everyone.
All right, so we have webinars about once a month, sometimes twice. Keep a lookout for your email address for tomorrow with the recording and a link to the slides again. And stay tuned for more nonprofit tech webinars from Elevation. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.